A baby naps beside his dog. 13 minutes later, a terrifying scream shatters the quiet afternoon. Sarah runs to the living room and freezes at what she sees. Someone she never thought she'd face again is standing in her doorway. What happens in the next few minutes will prove that courage comes from the most unexpected places. Before you watch, remember to like and subscribe so you don't miss another touching story like this one, and write in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is there. 6 months earlier, when the judge approved the documents, Sarah Bennett showed no tears. She simply remained there, empty inside, while her husband's words drifted softly through the courtroom. Measured, practiced, the identical voice he'd use when saying sorry before harming her once more. When she finally left, the evening light seemed far too cheerful for the existence she'd endured. She carried away only her vehicle, a sports bag, and the tiny scan image hidden in her purse. 8 weeks pregnant, almost invisible, yet entirely hers. Her mother, Dorothy, answered the door without questions. "Stay here however long you require," she whispered gently. Next to her, an elderly German shepherd raised his face from the floor covering. He was called Max, silver-haired near his snout with gaze that showed calm wisdom. Sarah stopped moving, her lungs constricted. She'd witnessed plenty of hostility in her years. She couldn't believe in any creature larger than a feline. "He's harmless," Dorothy promised. "He's elderly now, believes he's a cushion instead of a protective animal." Yet Sarah maintained her space. While her stomach expanded and her early days faded into sickness and quietness, Max stayed close, resting beside the kitchen entrance, observing from a courteous gap. Occasionally, she'd awaken during darkness and detect his feet moving through the corridor, the gentle tap of his rear end when she spoke his identity. Time continued. Cold weather transformed into pale, cloudy heavens. Sarah delivered Ethan, a small crimson-cheeked infant who came 14 days premature yet well. Initially holding him, something within her broke apart. He carried the scent of comfort and dairy, all the purity she assumed she'd abandoned permanently. Yet evenings proved difficult. Ethan wailed constantly. Her frame hurt, and each groan of the residents recalled slammed barriers and loud arguments. Rest arrived in shattered fragments. Max, though, rarely rested soundly. He'd raise his face whenever Ethan made noise, seemingly verifying if she required assistance. One night, Sarah rested on the furniture, swaying the infant while tiredness clouded her sight. The flame murmured in the heating unit. Dorothy had traveled to the village for supplies, abandoning her isolated for the initial occasion since delivery. Max rested close by, inhaling gradually. "You're awake too, aren't you?" she murmured. The animal's hearing moved. She chuckled quietly, a noise she hadn't produced in months. "I suppose we're equally exhausted from living in terror." When Ethan ultimately fell asleep, she positioned him softly on the furniture next to her. The space felt cozy, daylight filtering past the delicate drapes. Max rose, extended himself, and approached nearer. Automatically, she stiffened. "Wait, stop," she breathed, palm partially extended to prevent him. Yet Max didn't approach her. He inhaled the atmosphere around Ethan, hesitated, then extremely gently settled behind the infant, bending his massive frame like a half-moon surrounding him. His coat touched Ethan's small cover, his face positioned just away. The infant remained motionless. Something within Sarah's body relaxed. The image proved startling. This enormous marked creature protecting something so delicate. She inhaled shakily and murmured, "You're kind, right?" For the initial occasion since departing her spouse, the residence seemed protected. Later, Dorothy came back and paused at the entry, her mouth opening in amazement. "He hasn't acted this way since your sibling was an infant," she mentioned. "Has he always been like this?" Sarah questioned softly. Dorothy grinned. "He was naturally kind, yet he selects whom to believe." That evening, Sarah rested in her sleeping area, hearing the gentle pattern of Max's inhaling near the furniture. Ethan slept peacefully, a soft sound every several moments. It marked the initial complete evening of sleep she'd experienced since the medical facility. Hours merged into something gentler. Sarah began taking brief strolls outdoors, occasionally with Ethan in her grasp and Max walking next to her. People nearby gestured. Existence no longer resembled an injury. It resembled something mending. Still, certain evenings she'd wake from visions. Her former husband's sound speaking her identity, the noise of broken material, the reminder of fury she previously confused with affection. When that occurred, Max would raise his face, gaze into the blackness, and move nearer until his rear end contacted her limb, anchoring her into the current moment. By warmer weather, the connection among the trio became unbreakable. Max tracked every clothing change, every meal, and declined to abandon Ethan's presence. Sarah started abandoning the infant with him for brief periods, organizing clothing, preparing beverages. Each occasion she'd come back to discover them precisely as previously, the infant sleeping, the animal motionless, alert. Then arrived that afternoon, calm, regular, innocent. Brightness occupied the front space. Ethan rested on the furniture in his pale animal-design garment, inhaling gently. Max extended next to him, his torso lifting and dropping together with the infant's. Sarah grinned, captured an image, and messaged it to her parent who was outside in the garden. "See them," she typed. "He resembles another father." She filled herself a mug of hot drink and rested against the surface, gazed toward the opening. It marked the initial occasion she'd experienced calmness in years. Yet calmness, she'd discovered, doesn't continue eternally. Precisely 13 moments afterward, a noise tore through the atmosphere, a piercing, frightening scream that froze her blood. The hot drink dropped from her grasp, breaking on the surface. It wasn't Ethan, it wasn't her parent, it was Max, and it represented the type of scream indicating something was seriously, seriously incorrect. Sarah's pulse stopped. She rushed without footwear, hot drink splashing on the tiles. The front space brightness struck her like a blow. Max positioned himself stiff between the furniture and the entry, fangs displayed, frame shaking. Ethan's small wails cut through the commotion, and at the entry, partially concealed by darkness, appeared Marcus. He resembled nothing like the person she'd previously loved, slimmer, ungroomed, his gaze empty. "You stole everything from my possession," he whispered hoarsely. "My residence, my identity, my child." Sarah stopped, grasping the furniture edge to prevent falling. "You shouldn't be present," she breathed. "There exists a legal prohibition." "I'm unconcerned," his sound broke. "I simply desire what belongs to me." Before she could respond, Max jumped ahead, not assaulting, simply preventing the area between them. Marcus retreated, surprised, his footwear striking the entrance edge. "Remove him." "He's defending the infant," Sarah stated, sound trembling. "I stated remove him." The animal made a deep sound, a profound alert originating from somewhere instinctive. Marcus advanced another measure, and Max traveled with him, equaling every distance, maintaining his frame between person and child. Sarah extended for her communication device on the low table, yet Marcus noticed it. He struck the table forcefully, causing the device to scatter under the furniture. "You believe you can conceal from me permanently?" Beyond, a vehicle motor traveled past. Within, duration remained suspended, Ethan made a soft cry. Max voiced once, piercing, thunderous, and jumped to the side, striking Marcus's limb. The person lost balance, striking the low table edge. A collision, a yell, the infant wailing louder. Sarah yelled, "Cease this! Please cease!" Marcus moved to his knees, breathing hard. The animal positioned above him, torso rising heavily, gaze fixed. For one instant, everything stopped. The noise of air beyond, the sound of the timepiece, the infant's desperate cries. Then Marcus's face altered. He observed the child, small and crimson-faced, moving on the furniture, and something appeared. Fury, remorse, perhaps simultaneously. He lifted himself upward, speaking, "You substituted me with an animal." Max voiced once more, stronger, pushing him backward. Sarah took the opportunity, seized Ethan, and rushed toward the passage. "Parent!" she yelled. Dorothy entered through the side barrier, garden covering still worn, gaze expanded. "What's occurring?" "He's present." Dorothy stopped when she observed Marcus, uncontrolled, trapped, and then the image of Max between them. The animal's coat stood up, his position unmoved. "Depart from my residence," Dorothy stated firmly. "Immediately before I—" Marcus lifted his palms, inhaling forcefully. "I simply desired to observe them. You believe I'm the evil one?" Sarah grasped Ethan firmer. "You represent the evil one." He parted his mouth, yet the sound of emergency signals interrupted him. Someone, potentially a neighbor, had detected the commotion and contacted authorities. The azure illumination flashed through the transparent material, covering everything in frigid shade. Marcus's body slumped. He glanced once more at Sarah, then at the infant, and murmured, "You destroyed me." "Incorrect," she stated quietly. "You accomplished that independently." When authorities removed him moments later, Max didn't bark. He simply stood near the furniture, watching until the barrier closed firmly. The officer kneeling beside Sarah said gently, "Your dog saved your life." She looked at Max, calm now, his head lowered, eyes soft again. "He just did what no one else ever did," she whispered. "He stood between me and the pain." That night, as Sarah placed Ethan in his crib, she finally understood what safety meant. Not the absence of danger, but the presence of someone willing to fight for you. Max settled on the floor beside them, eyes half closed, breathing steady. For the first time, she turned off every light without fear. "You're safe," she whispered to her son, "because he heard what I couldn't." The dog lifted his head slightly and let out a quiet sigh, the kind that carries peace after war. Outside, the night was silent. Inside, 3 hearts beat as one, woman, child, and the guardian who screamed not from violence but from love. Marcus was sentenced weeks later for violating the restraining order and attempted break-in. Sarah didn't attend the hearing. She was home, watching Ethan take his first steps while Max followed close behind. Sometimes family isn't who we're born to. It's who protects us when no one else will. Did you enjoy this story? If you had a dog like Max who protected your family from danger, would you trust him completely with your baby from that moment on? Yes or no? Let us know in the comments below. If you like the story, subscribe to this channel and leave a like. Thanks so much for listening. See you in the next video. Have a great day.